Someone who watched the intro video to the Thelonic model pointed out that my argument that the various laws of physics, or really any laws, only apply to a particular context or scope or range of reality is incorrect, given that, or at least not incorrect necessarily, but not absolute, given that the speed of light is consistent across all of reality. That's partly true, in that within the physical material world of space-time and matter, we accept that the speed of light is constant. However, it is consistent by convention because we define a meter by the speed of light. Specifically, 1 meter is 299,792,458th part of a second of the speed of light. That's what a meter is. So if the speed of light were to fluctuate, the size of the meter would change as well. The speed of light will always be 299,792,458 meters per second. Even as the universe continues to expand, so too will the size of the meter. Of course, it'll look the same size to us because we'll be expanding as well. So with a constant speed of light, we have to accept that space and time are variable. And this is exactly what we do see with Einstein's theory of relativity, because as we travel at various speeds towards the speed of light, time and space do change. But we could just as easily say, no, the speed of light is variable, but it's space and time that don't change. That is the constant, space and time. And in fact, this was an argument between Einstein and Poincare, who preferred the space-time constant, while Einstein preferred the speed of light constant. Einstein's argument won the day. So that's why we say the speed of light is constant. But it would be just as accurate scientifically to say the speed of light is variable and space-time is what's constant. And outside of that classical or traditional thinking about space-time and the speed of light, there are a number of theories that claim the speed of light is not constant in different parts of the universe or in different contexts, etc. Unfortunately, they tend to be more on the fringe because they've never been tested or proven. They're just theories. So let's ignore those. But what we can't ignore is the fact that these constants are only applicable to the three-dimensional space-time reality that we live in. In the Thelonic model, the space-time reality that we live in is one of many different instances of contexts. In other words, there can be many, many other dimensions of reality. And when we take a look at all of the mostly anecdotal, but some actual scientific evidence of people that have left this reality and visited another, either through near-death experiences or out-of-body experiences, astral projection, this type of thing, we have to consider that the laws of these other contexts, while, at least according to the Thelonic model, do follow the fundamental patterns of energy, are or could be radically different than the ones we have here. For example, time and space and these other dimensions may exist very differently or may not exist at all, if that's even conceivable. Accepting that these other realities actually do exist and actually are quote-unquote real is currently a matter of faith, mainly because science has no desire, or very little desire, but more importantly, no ability to really test the fabric of these other realities. As I mentioned, there has been some actual objectively verifiable scientific tests that have shown people can leave their body and view other realities. The evidence for that has been significant enough for the governments, specifically the CIA and the KGB, to fund remote viewing projects specifically for that purposes. And when you look at some of the evidence that came out of the remote viewing project, such as the CIA project Stargate, as it was ultimately named, the evidence is far more than just statistically relevant. It's really quite mind-blowing when you read some of the evidence that they collected. But outside of that, there's been other investigations by psychologists and parapsychologists that also are massively statistically relevant. So we're going to accept on faith that these other realities do exist and that we don't have the technology or understanding or model of how to describe them. In the experiences of people that have gone to the other side and come back, mostly with NDEs, but in some cases out-of-body experiences, there have been people who have been pronounced dead for 7 minutes, 10 minutes, sometimes even a half an hour. And some of those people come back with stories of being on the other side for 1, 2, 5, 15 years. They've lived entire lives. In one out-of-body experience that I know of from a reputable source, there's an account of somebody who lived an entire life, had children, raised a family for about 20 to 25 years in another time, an ancient time, a time of tribalism, like caveman times, and then came back and discovered he had been out for about 15 minutes. And some proficient OOBE practitioners have also reported a sort of time dilation when they are out of their body, in such a way that time moves much slower in the past and quicker in the present, relative to time as they understand it in the present. So they could be out of their body for, say, 10 minutes, but if they're in the past, that 10 minutes can be days, months, or years, depending on how further back they are into the past. If they're in the future, the 10 minutes time becomes more compressed, where 10 minutes in the future might be 1, 2, 3 hours in the present. This shows some sort of consistent pattern that if we were to continue to investigate it, we would undoubtedly find relationships between these different contexts of these different realities. So, the contexts of time and space are clearly very different between these different dimensions, assuming we accept that there are these other dimensions. In which case, the speed of light as a constant across all of reality doesn't really hold up. In fact, people who have left their body make it very clear they can travel much, much faster than the speed of light. It's not even a consideration. They can travel to entire other galaxies in literally the blink of an eye. In my own experience, I have been to another previously inhabited planet that is nowhere near our system, and it was a timeless moment to get there. So, considering all this, while the speed of light might be constant, it is only so by convention and only relevant to that particular section of reality that we live in right now, this three-dimensional space-time piece of existence.